Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankara Acharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananamayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So, namaste once again, everyone.
Hari Om Bhavaya Namaste.
Sarvada Stapanam Buddhehe Shuddhe Brahmani Sarvatha Tat Samadhanamityuktam Natu Chittasya Lalanam. I think we just chanted this sloka in the last class. We have not seen the details, meanings and the details. Okay. So I'll give the. Did we do it? I'm not very sure.
No, we did. You told the meanings of the words.
I did, no?
And then, yes, and you started with the Chitta Ekagrata, and we did all that. We started from how the Rajoguna affects and all that things we discussed last class.
Okay, we did. Okay, fine. So just just to repeat, this is the 6th subdivision of the 3rd qualification. You must remember, we are now looking at the 3rd qualification, which is Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi. The 6 values are 6 internal disciplines. Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, then Titiksha. Then we also saw Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha. I'm myself not able to recall the 6th one.
Shraddha.
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 6th one, Samadhana.
Samadhana.
So this is the last of the 6 internal disciplines we are discussing. And this, as I said, this is called Samadhanam. So Tattva Bodha students will remember this. We have seen all those, all these, what is that? Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, separate chapter was there in Tattva Bodha. We have seen all that. There, Samadhanam was described or defined as Chitta Ekagrata, mental concentration or focusing faculty. That's what Tattva Bodha said. Here, Adi Shankara is using presenting it in a slightly different way. Sarvada Sthapanam. There is one more reading is there, you can find in some text, Samyak Sthapanam. Doesn't, the meaning doesn't differ. Except that Samyak means very well established. Sarvada means always established. Sarvada, I feel, is a better reading, right? So fixing the mind on an object for a length of time without allowing it to wander. Concentrating on something particular, a field, as an aspect for a length of time. Because generally our mind is of wandering nature. Especially when Rajoguna is predominant, mind will be restless, preoccupied and wandering, always looking for something to do. It will do something. In fact, this multitasking business and all is because of predominance of Rajoguna only. You are doing one thing and you find that there is still capacity in the mind to take up some other thing and do that also simultaneously. All Rajoguna predominance. What will happen? There won't be any focus on any one of the n number of things that you are doing. Like they say, jack of all trades, master of none. So you cannot, and the mind will go on its own, and it will, when a little bit of vacancy is there, it will look, oh, what should I do now? Let me do this. So therefore, developing this focusing faculty has got to be a very conscious sadhana. We have to work on it. In the Vedantic scriptures, a separate exercise is prescribed, which is called Upasana Yoga or meditation. In fact, when we analyze the purpose of the 4 ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa ashrama, typically, when we are in the Grihastha ashrama can be split into 2 parts. One part, which is the growth from Brahmacharya ashrama, where you get married, you establish a family, do all the karmas which are ordained in the scriptures, have progeny, children, serve the society, Atiti Devo Bhava, all that, serve the society, take care of brahmacharis, and people who have taken to Vanaprastha and also sannyasis in the society. All that are responsibilities of the first phase of Grihastha ashram. Then after doing that, in that phase, you can indulge in arthakama, earn as much as you want, enjoy all worldly pleasures. Scriptures don't bar them at all, but that period only you should use for that. You cannot come to sannyasa ashrama and say, I want to enjoy worldly pleasures. Scriptures say, no, that you cannot do. So that is a provision in the scriptures for that. Then once you have done that, slowly move from karma, performance of karma, to performance of karma with the karma yoga attitude. And which then beautifully blends into Vanaprastha, where the predominant karma that you are going to do is what? Upasana yoga. So Upasana yoga is sort of, starts with karma yoga. It's a part of karma yoga and ends up in Vanaprastha. And the main purpose of the Upasana yoga is to develop this mental faculty of focusing, concentration. That's why meditation is the main sadhana for Upasana yoga. And of course, then you graduate to sannyasa ashrama, where you take to jnana yoga. That is, once you have gained all the samadhi, shatka sampatti, and over and above that, of course, you also have gained the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. You are ready for, fully qualified for jnana yoga, for study of Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, for study of the Prasthana Trayam. And that is why, Upasana yoga being a part of karma yoga, we learn from Bhagavad Gita. 2nd chapter, Gita students, we have already seen this. Esha te bihita sankhe buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu. And while interpreting or commenting on this sloka, Adi Shankara says, here buddhir yoge means karma yoge, samadhi yoge cha, says. And again, the fourth chapter, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhihi. The word yoga samsiddhihi, again, Shankaracharya interprets as samadhi yoga. So samadhi yoga, or what we are now discussing, samadhanam, is a part of karma yoga, which is also called upasana yoga, practice of daily meditation to develop the focusing faculty. And it's very, very important for moving to jnana yoga. Now for meditation, normally we will require an object of meditation, right? An alambhana, what they call. Normally, we are advised make use of God as an object of meditation. All three versions of God you can use. Eka Rupa Ishvara, that's a particular deity. It could be your favorite deity or Rama, Krishna, whatever it is. You can do that. We try to dwell on that deity. As I said in the last class, Vishnu Sahasranamam, the Dhyana Slokas. Dhyana Slokas are meant for the purpose of upasana. So that is the first option you have got. Then the second option you have got is Vishwarupa Ishwara. Once you have gained certain degree of concentration by Ekarupa Ishwara, then move on, broaden your outlook. Vishwarupa becomes the Ishwara. So we dwell upon what? Bhupadavyasya nabhihi. Purusha Suktam starts. That's also for meditation. And then we come to Vedanta, we meditate on Bhagavan as the absolute reality, without any Nama Rupa, without any attributes, Nirgunam Brahma or Shuddha Brahma. So this entire process, all three are important. It's not that you can, of course, depending upon your level of maturity or ability to concentrate, it is easier to concentrate on one object than concentrating on Vishwarupa. Everything that is in the world, this whole cosmos is Bhagavan. Very difficult, more difficult. And then Shuddha Brahma is very, very difficult because you can't even visualize the Shuddha Brahma. It's only a matter of understanding. Everything is Brahman. Sarvam Brahmamayam. So this entire process is called Chitta Samadhanam. Ashtanga Yoga also talks about it. Last stage, Samadhihi, they say. Of course, there they use different terminologies and different principles. Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa, Samadhi and all they say. So basically, Samadhi means focusing. And that alone is called here Samadhanam. So he says, Shuddhe Brahmani Sarvada. And once a spiritual seeker is introduced to Nirgunan Brahma in Vedanta, how does that happen? By consistent and systematic study. First, I should understand what is Nirgunan Brahma. And later, I keep my focused mind in that for some time. And that is called Nididhyasanam. You should not start Nididhyasanam without even knowing what is Nirgunam, on what you are meditating, Where Nididhyasanam is Vedantic meditation. For that, you require something to meditate upon, and that is Nirgunam Brahma. That is Brahman, pure consciousness. So after studying Vedanta for some time, I understand Nirgunam Brahma as myself, my real self. Then you dwell upon that thought, Aham Brahmasmi. And that is called Chitta Samadhanam, concentration. So any concentration, it basically is called samadhana. Chitta samadhanam means focusing the chitta, the mind, the faculty, thinking faculty on one object, not allowing it to wander here and there. Not a very easy sadhana, I can tell you that. Sometimes it will take years of practice. But you have to evaluate yourself at every stage. Because what happens during meditation also, we must understand that there are a lot of stuff which are packed in our subconscious. It could be carried over from the previous janmas, samskaras, which are all there buried in the subconscious. Or it could be experiences or our reactions, our responses in this life during the previous period. They also, many of them get buried in the subconscious. And when the mind becomes still, what happens is all these which are buried in the subconscious, they come up, they surface. And dream is one of the results of that. In fact, I don't know how many of you have experienced this. Many times we dream of certain places, certain people. They all come in our dream, but we have never experienced them in this life. Some house, you are in some house. In the dream, that house is very familiar to you. And in case you happen to remember that house, after you wake up, you will wonder, see, I dreamt that house, but I have never seen that house in my life. From where did that house shape, and even some people in that house, it's all there in the subconscious. They come up. Similarly, what happens in meditation also is the same thing. Where meditation, you have to be very careful. It's very easy to fall asleep in meditation. People do. Because meditation process and the sleeping process is more or less the same when the mind is made still, inactive. But in meditation, you give one job to the mind, which is repeating a certain theme, repeating a certain or bringing to mind continuously a certain object in order to prevent the mind from going off to sleep. But still, depending upon the situation, sometimes the mind will go to sleep, or sometimes the other danger is when you are telling the mind that just keep on repeating something, the mind will say, okay, I'm bored with this, I will go somewhere else. It may also go wandering also. So the meditation, chitta samadhanam, is not a very easy practice. But you have to, if you want to achieve the highest in your life, you have to put it. One advantage is you continuously do that. Being conscious of two things. One is, when I am doing meditation, I must be aware of what I am doing so that I don't go to sleep. I am not putting my mind to sleep. So it's a very awareful sadhana. The other thing is, whenever the mind is trying to escape this meditation and trying to go around here and there, pull it back. Hey, mind, come back here and do the meditation. Go on doing this for some time. Eventually, the mind will settle and it will start gaining that concentration. You will be able to focus on that object of meditation for more and more and more length of time. Initially, it may just be a few seconds. Don't get discouraged. Continue the practice. It will help in the long run. That's why he says, Brahmani sarvada sthapanam buddhehe. So concentration on Brahman, sarvada, always, with commitment. Sthapanam means fixing, focusing, buddhehe, of the intellect of the, or the mind. Shuddhe Brahmani sarvada. So, when we are talking about Vedantic meditation or Samadhanam in the context of Vedantic qualification for Vedanta, we are not talking about Eka Rupa Ishvara or Jagat Rupa Ishvara. We are not talking about. We are talking about Nirguna Brahman. Meditation on Nirguna Brahman. But you cannot reach there unless you go through the route of first Eka Rupa, then Sarva Rupa, and then come to Nirguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman is the pure reality without any attributes. Swami Paramatmananda says, it should not, the meditation should not be on Adaram Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram Nayanam Madhuram Hasitam Madhuram, etc. Of course, this can be the beginning stage. But meditating on Bhagavan as the pure reality is what is Samadhana. Gaining that focusing of the mind by meditating on pure reality. We are talking about pure reality, what is that pure reality? We will come after we finish all this Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti topic. Then the Acharya adds here Sarvada, two words beautifully used, Sarvada and Sarvatha. Sarvatha means Sarva Prakarena. Sarvada means at all times. So through various methods at all times, Sarvada Sarva Prakarena, Sarvada Sarvatha. So what is this Sarva Prakarena means? Various methods. So there are three levels of Vedantic study. Shravanam means listening from a teacher. Mananam, reflecting over the teaching. And Nididhyasanam, dwelling upon the teaching. So Sarva Prakarena or Sarvatha means through Shravanam, through Mananam, and through Nididhyasanam. And even though these intellectual exercises are different, the main focus of all exercises is keeping our intellect only in the ultimate reality. The type of exercises vary, but the object on which we are all centered is Brahman alone. So, Sarvada Shravana Manana Nididhyasana Rupena Shuddhe Brahmani Sthapanam Tat Samadhanam Iti Uktam. That is called concentration faculty. See, in Tattva Bodha, we saw it in a very, very, I would call it, capsule form. Here, Adi Shankara expounds it for us to understand what exactly is this Samadha. And in fact, we will know how much concentration we have only when we start attending Vedanta classes. Are we able to keep our mind in the class throughout? Or does the mind start wandering? Because many times what happens in Vedanta is that you are listening to the teacher and there is something the teacher says which you are not able to understand. And one problem Vedanta classes is that you cannot ask the teacher any question when the class is going on. You have to reserve your questions for the post-Vedanta, that the post-class session, satsanga session and all, like we normally have. That time, you must be able to you can even record the questions occurring in your mind, and if it is not yet been answered by the end of the class, you can raise that question and get it clarified. Now, what happens is, when that question comes to your mind, there is a break in your listening. And that mind uses that break to start going around. This is all going above my head. Let me think of what movie is releasing tomorrow, or where I should go, what plans I should draw for going on a holiday, etc., etc. So the test is, are you able to, despite the fact that your question has occurred in your mind, you don't allow your mind to move away from what is being taught. The question has occurred, make note of the questions, continue listening. And for that, what you have to do, continuously observe what your mind is doing when the class is going on. And of course, there is also another aspect to it, which is what they call the attention span. This varies from individual to individual. So basically, by samadhanam or focusing or concentration faculty, etc., what we are saying, simply put, is increase your attention span. Sometimes, we will find the mind is listening for 5 minutes, and then for the next 5 minutes to go on a trip. Scatter brain, they call, just this, all scattered kind of thoughts. So without any distraction, without being a scattered brain, if I can remain in the class for 60 minutes, continuously listening, it's a fantastic thing. That's a goal one must set. Tat samadhanam iti uktam. That is called the internal faculty of concentration. Then, of course, interestingly, he adds, natu chittasya lalanam. The popular meaning of the word lalanam is fondling a child. When you take a child in the hand and then do like this and all, small, infant, lalanam. But here, he is using beautifully chittasya lalanam, means what? Pampering the mind or allowing the mind to do whatever it wants. Letting the mind loose, go astray. Natu, that is not samadhanam. In fact, as I was telling you, today people take pride in multitasking. While walking, they are listening to something. Vedanta, they listen while walking or jogging and all that, right? Because when you're walking or jogging, your mind will have to focus on the surroundings, right? You should not trip on a stone or something. You have to focus on the floor, where you are walking. So on the one hand, your mind is focused on that. On the other hand, from the ears, some Vedanta is going. Well, if not Vedanta, some music. They'll put on an earphone and treadmill and all that, Such people think that they are making very efficient use of their time. Of course, that is because the time is very scarce these days. But Shastra does not admit that. Vedanta Shravanam must be done 100% exclusively. You may be doing 100 things, doesn't matter, but at least one class you should listen exclusively without any distraction. One class in a week is sufficient. If you have got all the qualifications which are required, I can assure you that all the Vedantic concepts, everything you will be able to absorb very easily. That without distraction, if you are able to listen for 60 minutes, that is samadha. And by that alone, 100% Shravanam will take place. If you don't listen with concentration, whatever Shravanam you may do will be a waste. Therefore, if a person is a committed spiritual seeker and wants the benefit of Vedanta here and now in this life itself, whenever you are attending Vedanta classes, you must be able to listen to the entire class without allowing your mind to wander away to other thoughts or without indulging in any activity. There are some ladies I have seen, they will be doing so many things, talking to people and all, knitting these sweaters. I mean, it's very in North India, in Delhi, where I grew up, I've seen this, They'll be talking to somebody or singing some songs or doing something, but continuously knitting the sweaters. And then one part of the mind will be focusing on, because if there is some wrongs, this knitting, then they have to remove it and then redo it and all that. That is chittasya lalana, allowing the mind to go here and there, do different tasks rather. At that, simultaneously listening to Vedanta also. Therefore, what is samadhanam? Vedanta Shravanam should be done without undertaking any other activity at that time, with total focus. That is samadhanam, natu chittasya lalanam, not multitasking. So with this, the sixth subdivision is also completed. So all the six, Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam, put together is called Shatka Sampattihi. Now, out of this six, four of them, Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, and Samadhanam, sometimes you will find the meanings are given slightly different in other books. Even if you compare with the Tattva Bodha text, sometimes you will find there are differences in shades of meaning. But that shouldn't bother us. Overall, these are the six we have to note. Six qualification. So we did Shama, that is, the first qualification was, Viveka, Vairagya, the Samadhi, Shatka Sampattihi. Now we have got the fourth main qualification of Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. What is that fourth qualification? Mumukshutvam. And that Adi Shankara deals with that in the next verse number 17 in our list. Ahankaradi dehantan bandhana jnana kalpitan swaswarupavabodhena moktumicha mumukshuta. The Anvaya of the sloka is Swaswarupa avabodhena ahankaradi dehantan bandhan ajnana kalpitan moktum icha mumukshuta. Swaswarupa avabodhena, by the recognition of the nature of oneself. Ahankaradi dehantan, from ego to the body. Ahankara means ego here. Bandhan, bondages. Ajnana kalpitan, born of ignorance. Moktum, to give up. Icha, desire, is mumukshuta, disposition of a mumukshu, an ardent, serious seeker. So, the desire to give up all bondages from ego to the body, mind, sense complex that are born of ignorance by recognition of the nature of oneself is mumukshuta, disposition of a mumukshu. So the fourth main qualification is called mumukshutvam, desire for moksha. What is moksha? Moksha, Adi Shankara says, is freedom from bondage. Right? Very simple, freedom from bondage. Bandhan moktum icha. Desire to free oneself from bondage. Dropping the bondage. Dropping all the shackles is moksha. And the desire for dropping is called mumukshutvam. But understanding this sloka requires some background knowledge. So we need to understand a little bit more. In the vision of Vedanta, our body, mind, sense organs, or this complex, are just instruments or costumes that we use for worldly transactions. We discussed this in Bhagavad Gita also, second chapter. So just when we go out, like when we go out, we dress up. Suppose it's a winter, we'll have an inner garment, over that a t-shirt, over that a shirt, over that a coat, maybe a jacket. So many layers we dress up and go out, right? To do what? For worldly transactions. So different layers of dress we wear for worldly transactions. According to the Vedanta, the body, mind, sense organs, including intellect, etc., are only such different layers or mediums through which we transact in the world. And since they are only instruments or mediums, Vedanta insists that they are only used by us. They are not us. I use this body. I am not the body. I use my mind. I am not the mind. I use my sense organs. I am not the sense organs. I use the spectacles. I am not the spectacles. I am someone different from all these. So be it the body, mind, sense complex, or hearing aids, or spectacles, or earphones, etc., we all use them, but we are not dumb. This unique fact is the first thing that we have to realize, we have to understand, we have to absorb. And that is a very big shock to us, because till now we are taking this body, mind, sense complex as myself. That's why when somebody comes and asks us, can you describe yourself? What you will say, I am so and so and so. I am a male or a female. My parents are so and so. I am born in this family. I belong to this state. I am tall. I am short. I am fair. I am dark. I am fat. I am thin. All descriptions, when we are asked to describe ourselves, we describe us in the terms of this body, mind, sense complex only. Vedanta says, biggest mistake you are doing, my dear, you are not the body, mind, sense complex, but body, mind, sense complex are the instruments that you use to transact with the world. It is similarly to saying that I am these spectacles. Can you describe? I am spectacles. Does it not, will it not sound ridiculous? There is no difference in terms of purpose between the spectacles and my body, mind, sense complex. Same thing, I use them for transacting. That's all. That is the unique information Vedanta reveals. So, no living being, no human being knows this fact. Well, living being means here we are talking only about human beings. Vedanta is not meant for any other, living being rather. And in order to further elaborate this, Vedanta talks about 5 layers that this body, mind, sense complex, which we call in English, is actually consists of 5 layers. Like I told, you put on one inner garment, and then a t-shirt and a shirt, and then probably some jacket and coat, etc. Vedanta says this body, mind, sense complex which you are perceiving has got 5 layers. They are called Pancha Kosha. And Vedanta gives a name also for them. Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. Kosha means here a layer, a covering. Kosha also means covering in Sanskrit. Or we can call it a layer, whatever it is, or covering, we can take it, right? All these 5 are like our costumes. And Vedanta says, remember, we talked about Atma, Anatma, Viveka, right? As one of the basic qualifications required for a seeker. Few classes ago, we discussed that. So, Vedanta says all these Pancha Koshas are Anatma. We will discuss all these later on, individually. Adi Shankara deals with them. Here I am just introducing the whole topic. That's how Vedanta takes you, step by step. Now the question is, if I am someone different from all these, my body, mind, sense complex, then who am I? Who is the real I? Vedanta says, the real I, which is different from this Anatma, is called the Atma. So I am the Atma. The body, mind, sense complex is Anatma. And Vedanta goes one step further and says, this body, mind, sense complex, this Anatma, has got varieties of limitations. Time-wise, they are limited. They are mortal. This Anatma is mortal. There is a date of birth, the date of death. They exist within a particular time frame. Space-wise, they are limited. They can be located only at one place. They cannot exist simultaneously in 2 or more places. Individuality or object-wise also they are limited. By being one type of individual or one type of object, they cannot be another type. I am so and so and so. I am Ganapathy. I cannot be Krishnamurti. I am limited. Ganapathy as if you take my body, mind, sense complex as Ganapathy representing the body, mind, sense complex, then that is limited because it cannot be anybody else than Ganapathy. Limitation. So all these limitations are called Desha Kala Vastu Parichedaha. And Anatma has got all forms of limitations, and therefore it has got a mortality also. And Vedanta further reveals that while Anatma is mortal and limited, subject to suffering, Atma, the real I, am free from all these limitations. That I am the limitless, the absolute reality is the teaching of Vedanta. As I said, I'm just giving very briefly these as introduction, because we will come to the ultimate teaching later rather. Adi Shankara expounds all these things here only just to make you familiar that this is what is coming, this is what is Vedanta is all about. Therefore, Atma, my real nature, is my real nature, and this fact I am not aware of. That this Atma is pure, immortal, eternal, I am not aware of. And the cause for this unawareness is self-ignorance. And because of that ignorance, I have got self-misconception also. Because of that, I identify myself with body, mind, and sense complex. So what is driving my strong identification with this body, mind, sense complex is purely ignorance of what I am in reality. Therefore, since I do not know that I am the Atma, I mistake myself to be Anatma. I mistake myself to be body. When I say I am a human being, I am a male, female, young, old, etc., I am indirectly declaring that I am the body, I am the Anatma. That's why when the body is born, I say I am born. When the body dies, I say I die. Similarly, the sense organs also, we identify with as ourselves. My mind, my intellect. And this is because of the self-misconception. Identifying with what you are not because you are ignorant of what you are. And it is this ignorance leads to misconceptions. Ajnanam leads to adhyasa. Adhyasa, simply put, is wrong identification, or adhyasa, actually speaking, is superimposition. It's a technical word, adhyasa. We will again discuss this later rather. At this point in time, just be familiar with this terminology, adhyasa. It's a very, very important aspect of this self-ignorance. Why self-ignorance arises? Adi Shankara, writing the Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, starts with Adhyasa Bhashyam. First, he explains what is the problem with all human beings. Beautiful Bhashyam, Adhyasa Bhashyam. When we study Brahma Sutra, we will study Adhyasa Bhashyam. But Adhyasa is a technical word. Just keep it in mind. Okay. And once I mistake myself as this limited mortal body, all the problems of the body, mind, sense complex, all their limitations become my limitations. So old age, disease, death, etc., all become my conditions. I superimpose all these conditions on myself, and then because of the self-misconception, I take them all to be my conditions. The insecurity of the body, mind, sense complex becomes my insecurity. Their problems become my problems. Therefore, I get shackled. I suffer from a sense of limitation. I feel trapped. This sense of limitation, this sense of being trapped, this sense of being shackled is what is called samsara. Here Shankaracharya calls it bandha. or bondage. But we must understand that this body, mind, sense complex by themselves are very beautiful, wonderful instruments. They are extremely useful. We cannot experience anything without them. It is only with their help can we transact and experience the world. Therefore, their availability as a costume does not mean we have to degrade them. They are very useful as long as we understand that they are only instruments which we use for our benefit and which are different from us. Therefore, using them as a costume is not a problem. In fact, they are a blessing. Without them, body, mind, sense complex, we won't be sitting in this class and listening to Vedanta and trying to acquire the self-knowledge. But the problem comes the moment we identify with them, we take them to be ourselves, we become them, and then they become shackles. Identification converts a costume into shackles. And therefore, for an ignorant person, they become bandha, shackles, bondage. But for a wise person, they are wonderful instruments. So here Shankaracharya says, ahankaradi dehantan bandhan ajnana kalpita. So I talked about 5 koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. This Ahankara here refers to Vijnanamaya kosha. Again, we will see that also later. At this point in time, Vijnanamaya kosha, we can understand that as intellect, buddhi. So Ahankaradi, Vijnanamaya kosha, etc. Adipadat means etc. Intellect, etc. Dehantan. Deha means physical body, which is Annamaya kosha. So Adiantan, beginning from Vijnanamaya kosha up to Annamaya kosha means all the Pancha koshas. So for a person who is unaware of his real nature, for an ignorant person, for a samsari, the body, mind, sense complex or identification with the body, mind, sense complex is bandha, a shackle. But what is the desire of a Vedantic student? What is the desire of a Vedantic, serious Vedanta seeker? He wants to become free, liberated from these shackles. So ahankaradi dehantan bandhan, the shackles, moktum icha mumukshuta. Moktum means to be free from, to drop, to throw away, to remove. Remove the shackles. Does not mean removing the body, removing the shackles. Must not think that ahankar, dehantan, moktum icha means commit suicide. So that all these things will go away. It's only the shackles, because the bandhan moktum icha. Removing the shackles, or we can say removing the shackleness. The shackleness, the quality of being shackles. How do you remove the shackleness of the shackle? By dropping the identification, by dropping the adhyasa, which caused the shackleness, dropping the wrong identification with the body, mind, sense complex, or dropping the mistaken conclusion that I am the body, mind, sense complex. That is removing the shackleness. It's a cognitive conclusion, an intellectual conclusion. It is not physically separating anything from anything. We are not taking the shackle away and throwing it to the Ganga. Like some people try to throw their medals into the Ganga. Luckily for them and for us, they didn't do it. So it's purely a cognitive conclusion that I am not the body. We are already having conclusion that I am the body. I have to drop this mistaken intellectual conclusion. I should be able to deliberately assert, I use my mortal body, but I am not the mortal individual. I am the immortal self. And this misconception will be dropped only when the cause of that misconception gets dropped, which is self-ignorance. And self-ignorance cannot be dropped just by wearing all these saffron robes or shaving the head or removing your this sacred thread, etc. Ignorance can never be removed by any other method other than knowledge, and self-ignorance cannot be removed other than self-knowledge. That's why Shankaracharya says, Swaswarupa avabhodena, by clear and convincing knowledge, a knowledge which cannot be gained by any other pramanam except Vedanta Shabda pramanam. Thus, by employing this pramanam, with the guidance of a guru, doing the sadhana of Shravanam, Mananam and Nidhyasanam, Swaswarupa avabhodaha. A Vedantic student, a mature student, is very clear about what his real nature is and what he wants in life. Because this is the problem. There are thousands of spiritual seekers who don't have any clarity about what they want. Pujya Swamiji says, there are many who do spiritual shopping, guru shopping. They will go to one guru. After some time, they will go to another guru. And this will be a regular feature. Ashram hopping also they do. One ashram, then they go to another ashram. They're not clear what they want. But if one is an informed student, he clearly knows what I want is self-knowledge from a teacher. And if the teacher is teaching, he comes in the parampara, in the Guru parampara, and his teaching is purely based upon Vedas, not even Puranas, purely based upon Vedic teaching, and especially Upanishads. When it comes to the topic of self-knowledge, especially Upanishads, then he need not go and search for any other guru. That guru is sufficient. He will teach you what is required. It then depends on you, how you observe, how you live in that knowledge. So Swaswarupa avabhodena. Swaswarupa means one's real nature as the eternal Atma, as the immortal Atma, different from the body, mind, sense complex, or Panchakosha Vilakshana Atma iti avabhodena. Knowing thus. Avabhodena means clear knowledge, conviction that I can use this knowledge to conduct my life. Moktum Ichha, the desire to drop the shackles by understanding. I am none of them, none of this body mind complex. I understand that these body mind sense complex are only useful instruments. Swami Paramatananda ji narrates a beautiful joke. I will stop with this joke. A person sang a song in front of an audience. He sang in such a poor manner that somebody threw one slipper, some chappal on him. And this person, the singer, he was telling about this incident to somebody else's friend. So when he said that somebody threw a chappal on me, the friend asked, what did you do then? So this fellow says, what will I do with one chappal? So I sang one more song and I got the second chappal also. Similarly, that which is a shackle, we can intelligently convert it into a blessing. Body is not a burden, it is a blessing. Mind is not a burden, it's a blessing. It will become blessing only when I objectively use them without emotionally identifying with them. So, Swaswarupa avabodena ahankaradi dehantan bandhan moktum iksha mumukshuta. This moktum iksha or desire is called mumukshuta or mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam, mumukshata are one and the same. Keen desire. Now there is one word which we have not dealt with. That is ajnana kalpita. It's a technical word, requires some explanation. I will deal with it in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Thank you, Guruji.
Dhanyavadah, Mahoday.
Thank you. Dhanyavad, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Dhanyavad.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you, Guruji. Thanks a lot, Om. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you. Namaskaram, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Any questions? There are no questions. Hariji is missing because I think he was not well last week.
He is not well.
Yeah, I know. Not well.
Last 2 days after his camping trip.
Yeah, he flew back, he didn't go to Chennai.
Yeah.
He flew back to Hyderabad. Send me a message that I've reached Hyderabad, but looks like he's still under treatment. That's why he's not in the class. I think health is more important, so this he can always listen to the recording.
Also, it was very heavy rain, Guruji, in Hyderabad with thunder and all, no power actually. Even I am listening through data. It is all, maybe big heavy breeze and this thing like cyclonic. This thing. No, rain stopped, but power has not come, Guruji.
Okay. That may be a reason also. True. So if there are no questions, then I will close the session with your permission. Okay.
Dhanyavad, Acharya.
Dhanyavad. Okay.
Thank you,
Guruji. Namaste.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Good night.
Hari Om.